Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You're listening to First Paso.
Hello and welcome to First Paso, a show where we learn together how to take that first paso toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olushala, and today's guest is a certified life coach. She's a speaker, she's an entrepreneur, and she is on a mission to empower individuals to take charge of their futures by taking action today so they can live the life of their dreams. So, without further ado, please welcome my dear friend, Deshira Milan. Hey, girl.
Hey, thank you so much, Candace, for having me on here. Thank you. I'm so humbled to be here, just because of how our connection and how we've connected, and you've been such a blessing to my business and things. And so I thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to just be here, talk, and let the Holy Spirit just guide us today. So thank you for welcoming me.
Yes, ma'am. I love it. I mean, it has been cool how we've connected, and I don't know, it just felt like a God thing.
Always.
Like, total God thing for us.
Yes,
so,
nothing God.
Super cool. So tell the people a little bit about yourself and just kind of your background.
Yes, totally. So hi, everybody. My name is Deshira Milan, and I'm the Chief Visionary Officer of D Milan Hospitality, LLC. Under D Milan Hospitality, LLC, we have my business, which is Wow God Movement and Apparel. That is an apparel line where we talk about the miracles and wonders of God. And then we also have Deshira Milan, D Milan. We have me, which is the brand, and I am all about helping people with their personal, professional, and spiritual development, as well as their business development, depending on which services they need. And so just a little bit about me. I've been working since I was 16 years old. I'm 30 now, but have my background is in hospitality, and hospitality from a perspective of serving. I've always loved to serve others. I attribute that to my grandmother. Anytime we were in the house, she always welcomed people with great love and respect and genuine hospitality, and making people feel good when they're around you. And that has always been my passion and mission with everything I do. So that's kind of my business and my background and just my heart. My heart is always here to serve, always here to uplift and inspire people. So I'm just happy that I'm here to be able to share my story and hopefully be able to connect with different people on what different things we go through in life, and how it honestly attributes to our story and our testimony, and how we are also going to be used by God. So I'm just happy to be here with Candace, and just to be able to be a light to somebody today.
I love that. I love it, girl. You've been a hustler for a long periodically time. I see you. Okay.
I was just talking about this to my grandma. She was like, "You've been working since you could first start working." I was like, "Yeah." As soon as they said you were legal to work, 16, baby. My first job was Chuck E. Cheese, y'all. I was Chucky. Okay, that is some hustling. Okay, I've been humbled a lot in my career. And that's why I'm here as a personal, professional, life coach, because I help people with that. Like, I understand going from the trenches and being able to be successful in your career. So I always joke about that. Like, I was Chucky, and I had to stop being Chucky because the little boy noticed that I was a girl by my shape. So that's why I couldn't do that no more.
Chucky has hips.
Yeah, he told somebody, and I couldn't be Chucky. I loved it too. I got to dance.
I cannot. Y'all can steal kids at Chuck E. Cheese.
Right.
They whole job.
Too smart for his good. Okay. But yes, so that was my first job. Of course, I did other things, but that was one of my favorite parts of the job. Because, you get to bring this. I love making magic happen behind the scenes, like inspiring kids, or just, anything that I do magic, so that was fun for me. But yeah, I couldn't do it anymore. It's okay though. Shout out to the little boy. I'm pretty sure he's grown now.
He's probably mad grown and has a whole job. No one's coming up to you talking about your hips, sir. You probably still getting your coin.
But yeah. So that's definitely am always about progression for people and just helping them professionally develop themselves in their careers, their dreams. Honestly, that's my passion, because I feel like God put so much in us, and he doesn't only want us to do one thing. Like, he gives us so many different talents, but of course using them in season. And so I'm very passionate about people like walking into that. Walk into that. God gave you that for a reason. He gave you that vision. He's gonna give you the provision for it. So, but yeah.
That part, girl. Well, you did say that, especially as someone who's an entrepreneur, you're a life coach, you're a speaker, you do all these things, and you use your experience, your stories, to really connect with the people that you serve. So I'm pretty curious, as I'm sure everyone else is, what for you then is an essential First Paso experience?
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to get real with this podcast because God told me to.
I mean,
and also
we got to obey.
You have to obey, right? And so it's going to be, I just want to give the disclaimer that when I share it, it is not to offend anybody. It is not to make anybody uncomfortable. It's just my story, and I have to tell it in my words, and I will speak from an I point of view, never they. So I just want to make sure I put that disclaimer out there first. So here's the context. Nervous. Okay. Here we go. So me, in my world, in society, I have presented myself as a professional woman, someone that's just always, striving for the best, someone of excellence, always pursuing my dreams, going after every single thing that I want, always presented that to the world. But I've actually never presented my personal side. Like, some people don't ever get to see that side of me because my business is professionalism, right? So no one really gets to see that side of me, but today's the first day that I'm going to step into that. And so as a woman, a developing woman, what I find that is I was going through this season that I'm about to share, a lot of things I had to learn, because I'll start from a context point of growing up. My family, we definitely were a loving family, a supportive family. I mean, my mom and my dad were just the best parents that I had. And I kind of had a view of life from everything's beautiful, right? Everything's peaceful, everything's good, right? And they never let on to anything being outside of that context. So my friends used to joke with me all the time, like, you see gummy bears and Skittles all the time. Like, you're just always happy. I never forget a girl in high school used to tell me, she's like, I don't like you because you're always happy. I'm like, what? Like, why is that a crime? And I didn't understand a worldview of real life until young adulthood. And young adulthood started for me in college, and actually leading up to college, like the summer before college. And specifically, I fell in love. And as a woman, this is your first encounter of falling in love. You're experiencing someone that you truly just love unconditionally. Nothing they can do, you will ever stop loving them for. It was just the first encounter for me because I never experienced anything like that. And unfortunately, in that relationship, we went separate ways. It just we mutually decided it, but it was still a love, and there was still communication throughout the years, but it was just, we probably were just not compatible, and it was just a lot of different things that I had to first encounter, like just different hard things with the relationship, and of course it was young love. So there's a lot of mistakes in it. There's a lot of, hey, I, might have been flirting with somebody, or, I had it's just different things and pieces that were just new for me to experience. And so with that, in that process of just first navigating this first emotion, and then kind of dealing with the rough patches of just inconsistencies and just a little bit of, lies and betrayal and just different emotions that came with experiencing young love, I experienced my first heartbreak, and it was really hard. It was one of the most devastating things to me because I just, you trust that it's going to be something. You thought you're going to be with this person forever. You thought, and of course, throughout the years, you stay connected with the person, you try to reconnect, doesn't work out, life goes a different way, you try again. And it was more so like kept trying. And unfortunately, the person and I just, we went our separate ways. And then of course they ended up in different relationships. And, over the years, you're seeing it, but you're just like, oh, maybe again. And then you get one more opportunity. And this one I thought was like, my husband. I truly did. I believe, God called it. And honestly, God did prophesize it to me. And they, it was a lot of confirmations. And I was like, okay, it's just the enemy, like the enemy's trying to stop it, or all these different things. And I just was like, I'm praying, I'm fasting, doing everything that I could possibly do to make this love happen. And unfortunately, like I said, we were just not compatible, and they decided to go their separate way, and of course, start new relationships and things. And so that was really hard. And once I found out about new relationships and just that, okay, officially we're going our separate ways, on top of just different emotional things and life and finances, just on top of that, grief and losing family members, just all of these things. And then you lose, your first love. It took me to a season of deep depression, deep depression, to the point where I had hopelessness. I just knew that I was not going to, first and foremost, I thought I was going to be single for the rest of my life. I thought, I wasn't going to be, successful in my business, because of course you're starting out a business and things are not maybe running as fast as you thought. Then I had some friendships that unfortunately went our separate ways just due to life experiences and circumstances. So that was hard. You just a lot of different things. And so it was my 29th year of life leading into 30. That's why I say young adult life. And I just was in the worst space I had ever been in my life, where I was like, God, if you're ready to come get me, meaning to go to heaven, come on, just come on. This is too much. I can't handle this. This is a lot. And then we add on the pandemic. Okay. Like, let's just add that to the mix. Okay. So it was just a lot of weight, and it was just a lot of things and pressure that I just felt: a loss of love, a loss of friendships, a loss of money, a loss of everything that was normal to me. And I was like, God, I can't do this. And so one day, I was driving one day, and I was driving down a road that I always go down, that brought back memories of my past, my first love. And I was driving, and I was just like, you know what, God, you're not answering. This is not where and thank God I was on a business call, right? Thank God I was on a business call. But I was driving, and all of a sudden I saw a ditch, and I was like, you know what, if I just let go of the wheel, maybe this pain will go away. Maybe this emotion, all that I'm feeling, it'll just go away, and I won't have to be here. And I won't, maybe the people that have hurt me or betrayed me, or maybe they'll feel the pain that I'm feeling inside. Maybe then will people see me, will see me, not the me that I presented to the world, but the actual me that I hurt. I feel things. I truly experienced some really heavy pains that I just didn't expect, or I didn't see coming. And so I was like, if I just let go of this will, maybe, just maybe. And thank God I was on a business call that day, and I got it was pretty much distracting me from that moment. And I got home, and I just called my mom. Actually, I called my friend first, and she talked to me, and then she said, you need to call your mom. And I called my mom. And my mom called the suicide prevention hotline, and they came to my house. And they came and they talked with me, and they just were able to just show me that I wasn't alone, and that, they had my back, and, that I wasn't making up the stuff that I was feeling. Like, they were just there for me. And I always shout out that hotline, because they stayed past the time that they were supposed to. Like, they just wanted to make sure I was good, and they helped me. And from that day forward, it was like, I felt like the old me in that sense died, and the new me was restored, or the me that God has wanted me to be came up off the floor that day, from the ashes and the pit, and all of that was picked up that day, and was able to now do what I do best. And it's almost a year later, and I'm just like, I cannot believe how God has just came into my life to do what he's done. But so yeah, that was the context of my first step. And so my first step was I believe actually it was a two-part, but I will say the first step was to acknowledge. I had to acknowledge everything because it wasn't just the first love. It was everything that I loved I was losing. So here's grief, right? Everything that I loved that I was losing, I had to go back in time. So the first thing I lost was my first love, right? But then next, right after that, I lost family members that I truly loved completely. A step grandfather, a aunt, uncles, like back to back in college. My college years, I lost someone every year, from the first love to my uncle to my step grandfather to my aunts. I lost someone every year of my college years. That's heavy. And then these were intricate people in my life that made sense and mattered to me. So it was a lot of grief. It was a lot of weight. So once I finally had a moment, like I guess years later, to acknowledge, wait a minute, you lost a lot of stuff at the same time. That's a lot for anybody. That's a lot for anybody to carry that weight. So losing all those different people that meant so much to me in different capacities, I had to acknowledge it. That was the definite first step. And I guess you could say that half a step right after it was to ask for help. Ask for help. I didn't know what was going on in my mind. I didn't know that this was, because in my mind, I'm thinking I'm okay. I'm doing it. I'm a high functioning depressant person. So I'm over here like, yeah, let's keep going. Let's grind. Let's do. That's what society teach you. Let's grind. Let's keep going. You no need. Don't let them people see you sweat. Don't worry about it. You got it. Keep going. No, it's okay to not be okay. It is okay. And it's okay to ask for help. My asking for help, thank God, was calling a friend who told me to call my mom because I was scared to tell my mom. I was scared, but my friend calling her for her to advise to call my mom, that my mom calls the right resource. You just never know. So I guess you could say the step is a two-part. It's acknowledging something's wrong. That was the thing. When I was driving that day and I saw the ditch, I acknowledged and I told my mom, I cried on the phone. I said, Mom, I'm not myself. Something's not right here. Something's wrong. So I acknowledged something's not right here. Because here's the thing, if you don't acknowledge it, if you don't speak it out, how are we gonna know it exists? No one will know. So a lot of times when people, especially because I know it's Suicide Prevention Month, a lot of people are sitting here battling with stuff they don't even know it's a problem or that they're battling with because it's a trauma response or they're just dealing with different things. And they're just like, oh, it's just life. No, it's okay to not be okay. But you have to acknowledge it and say it to somebody. A trusted person, even a stranger. I didn't know those women that came to the house that day, but I was able to acknowledge something's not right here. Something's not right. It's not going right. And once I did that, then I was able to, okay, now I need help. So I would say that's the first step is acknowledgement and seeking help with that acknowledgement. Sorry, that was a lot.
Woo, girl. That first off, thank you for being vulnerable about that. Because that is hard to talk about, admit that you've had a moment or a season for some people, it feels like a lifetime of battling with such dark mental spaces that you start thinking maybe me not being here is the solution to that, you know? And praise God that you recognized this is probably not normal thinking. This is probably not good thinking for myself. Let me reach out to someone to at least say it. Like I'm acknowledging it to myself. Now let me say it to someone else that will hopefully help me navigate this further. And just for the fact that your mom acted in that moment and called the suicide prevention hotline, which we'll put their contact in the show notes below because there's people that really they need to hear a positive side of their hotline. I feel like a lot of people hear negative things about the hotline a lot these days and over the last few years. So I'm so happy that you have a positive experience with them and that you really support what they do and that they've helped you a ton. I guess my question for you is then how did you maneuver life after that? Like how have you maneuvered this last year since that occurred to make sure that you are being more aware of where your mental state is and trying to stay positive again.
Mm. So it's very interesting because I realize that because I love hard and I love people so much, sometimes another person is my motivation. And this is gonna get real deep, but a few months before I had my moment, unfortunately, I was visiting friends in Los Angeles, California. We were having a good day, and then we ended up on a highway, and unfortunately, we witnessed a suicide. And him, the young man that I still see, I visually still see him. Um, he's why I speak out and take the first step and do what I have to do, because I wish I could have got to him in enough time before he made that decision. I wish I could have gotten to anybody that has made the decision, unfortunately, to end their life. And so for me, I live my life as a, how do I want to put it? As a testimony for myself, but also too more so to, I'm standing up for them, the ones that didn't have one more day, the ones that didn't, because I understand where they were when they thought about it, when they did it. And so to answer your question, how did I get up from that? Well, first, they definitely, it was okay. So they gave me a treatment plan. I will say that. So the treatment plan was like, don't do this, don't have certain things in your pathway, like anything that would be harming, self-harming. So of course, getting rid of all those things. But I guess what I would say is it really was nothing but the love of God and his truths speaking to me in those seasons of hopelessness. It was the love of people, friends, family, being able to speak into me. But as far as what I had to do, for one, I'm always an advocate for therapy. Please go. I had to find a therapist just to speak through those harsh times, to talk about the pain, things like that. And then I will have to be honest, I was doing a lot of speaking life over myself, a lot of it. And that is what has been keeping me, even when I don't have time to do these things. And every morning I had a word, either a biblical truth or an affirmation. I downloaded every app possible, some type of truth to tell me, because here's the truth. The enemy's going to lie to you every day. He's going to lie about something. Okay. The God can tell you that you were beautiful and wonderfully made. And he can tell you that every day. And the enemy's gonna be like, but you see that little pimple you have right there? Or you see, that's his job. He get paid overtime. I say that all the time. He gets paid overtime to do that. Like, that's his job. So me coming with the truth was like, okay, hold up. That's a lie. And understanding what is a lie. See, that's the thing too. We had to identify what's the truth and what's a lie. Remember that game growing up? Like, what's the truth? What's a lie? That's a lie. So when you speak over yourself and be like, I am more than a conqueror. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You got to believe that. And that was the first step, for real. I had to believe it first. You can say it. We can quote every scripture in the Bible, but until you believe it, that's the first step. And to be quite honest, if it wasn't for me starting the series that you were a part of, which was Wild God Wednesday, that was what started it for me. Because we were sharing testimonies, and I'm a firm, person. I got to hear your testimony to believe it for myself. Okay. So I remember you were one of my first guests, like hearing your story gave me strength to know that I can go, and we overcome through our testimony. So that's what started it. It was like first hearing, believing, and then actually now, okay, how do I apply this to my life? Well, let me walk. Okay. So to walking like, with my shoulders down and sad, let me walk with the confidence that God has given me, the authority. Let's walk in the authority and speak truth over ourselves. Okay. Speaking truth over yourself, meaning everything that God has said to you. And I know we get into like, what God has promised us and all those different things. Those are great. But the first thing that God has called you to be is his child. Okay. Do you know how great it is to have God as your daddy? Like, taking care. Okay, I love my earthly parents. I love and adore them. But to know that I got a God that is my parent, that is going to lead me wherever, that is going to have my back, provision, understanding that. And so for me, it was like I had to first start with belief.
Sis. Yo. That's some real talk. And it's so interesting. So, okay, so there are people that listen to my show that really struggle with faith.
Mm.
Like, okay, his truth's in the Bible. It's and what is truth and how I'm going through this, but these things are happening. How am I supposed to really know he's my dad through something like suicidal thoughts or losing a loved one that I cared about? Prayed even. I prayed to him about that and it didn't go the way I asked. So, okay, so whatever he says about me, how am I supposed to take that, for the weight? So how did you really for yourself, both of us are believers, but for those that are struggling with the idea, or maybe even are like, okay, she's talking about the Lord, I'm turning her off. Like, what is your appeal to people in that space? Because this is an experience you've actually lived out and are actively living out right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that distinguishing aspect that God has given you that even just affirmations haven't?
Mm-hmm.
Like affirmations by themselves haven't. Right.
So let me give it also a disclaimer, because I truly understand and identify with the non-believer or someone that's struggling with their faith. I identify with that because I didn't get like faith filled. It took some years, y'all. Okay. Like it took some years. I was definitely in the world. I am not ashamed. I was in the world doing everything you can think of. Okay. So let me just make sure I put that out there, because I don't want anybody to sometimes feel like I promise you, I always joke, I'm just five years out the water. Okay. I just came out the water. I'm still very fresh and I could switch real quick if I need to. I just came up out the water. Okay, guys, 5 years. Okay, it ain't that long. Just being honest. Because, sometimes, but the reason why I can speak with that zealousness is because y'all don't know my life before it. Okay, my life before it was a mess, a hot mess. Like,
Lord, my God.
Hot mess, y'all. And I promise you, I ain't gonna go into my business like that. But if anybody that knew me, that's why it's so hard being back home in Georgia, because people that knew me, they be like, she godly now. Like, it's like it's hard to switch off. It's so real. So
real life. This is
just giving y'all a disclaimer. Like, I promise, being back here has been the hardest thing, because people still see me as 5 years ago, Shira. Okay. We 5 years in, grace be to God. Thank you for his covering. So I just want to make sure I give that disclaimer. I'm still fresh out the water, guys. And when I say the water, I'm talking about baptism. Okay. So I will say this. What is the distinguishing factor when it comes to God? Oh, that's a really good question, actually. I would say, and I'm going to just compare my life with God and without God when it comes to the pressures. Like I said, the story of context was before God, right? So I had you know of God, you heard of him, but I wasn't walking in that. And so I call it pre-Jesus moments. Pre-Jesus moments was, okay, so you get hit with some type of weight or whatever, and mine was grief and loss and all that stuff. And what do you do with that, right? So for me, it was, well, I'm gonna just be successful. How about that? I'm gonna just stay busy, okay? I'm gonna get all the good grades in school. I'm gonna get all the best jobs. I mean, I had every good job, y'all. I worked for Disney. I worked for Marriott. I worked for Chick-fil-A. I worked for every company you could think of, okay? I was like, I'm just gonna hustle and grind, because when Beyonce say the best revenge is your paper, right? That's where I was. And at some point, guys, I crashed. I fell far under the ground, not in the ground, under. Okay. That was me pre-Jesus. Let me try to navigate this and figure this out on my own strength, right? On my ability, what I can do. Okay, I can make a lot of money. Yeah, sure. Make it almost 6 figures. Like, I did it all. Okay. Then at some point, which was my rock bottom, which is what we talked about. My money can't sustain me. The love can't sustain me. What I've created for myself, my car, this, all that can't sustain me. So it had to be something that was going to have to keep me. I always, me and my cousin talk about this all the time. Like, I could not understand how I could navigate this world without having something to ground me. Without having some, whether it's, even if I didn't believe in God and I just had my parents and my grandparents and their morals and values instilled in me, that's cool and all. That's great. But if there's nothing to ground me, y'all, I don't know where I'll be. I'm gonna be honest. I'll be somewhere else. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. So the distinguishing factor for me was, first, I had to honestly understand who Jesus was for me. I had to understand what he went through, what he experienced. All that. He went through everything: betrayal, beatings, lies, and he didn't do nothing wrong. That's when I identified with him most, because I was like, I didn't do nothing wrong to these people. And they just gonna hurt me like that. Like, I didn't do anything in my mind. I didn't think, I'm not perfect, but I was like, I really loved hard. Like, what did I do wrong? That was the biggest question. What did I do wrong to get this type of hurt or betrayal or whatever? Jesus didn't do nothing wrong at all. And yet he felt all those different things. So when I identified with his things that he went through, and I felt the same thing, I was like, oh my God, what a friend. I have a friend. I have somebody that identifies with me. And so that was the distinguishing factor for me, was like, when I read his story and what he went through and everything he went through, and he didn't do nothing wrong. That was the part that just, I still cannot fathom that. He didn't do nothing wrong. He was living a blameless life, just chilling, minding his business, just doing his job. Like most of us, we were just doing our job, not trying to hurt nobody, and yet still felt pain and anguish and just so many different things. And that's when I identified with it. I had to, I'm gonna be real honest. I was just, I play around. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I know God. But when I read the story and I was like, oh my gosh, that's when I was like, that's the distinguishing factor for me. I understand there's a lot of debate on religion and things like that. And I understand that, y'all. And don't let religion detour you from your relationship with God. Like, don't let that, because I understand. And I ain't been to church in 2 years, y'all, because of religion. And I get it. Trust me, I do. But for me, was that specific story spoke to me. It spoke to me because I was like, this person was just minding their business, doing their job, doing what their father called them to do, and still was hurt, was still in pain, was still betrayed. That's when I identified that was the distinguishing factor, which let me say, let me read a little bit more about this man. Who is he? What is he? Because, you hear about, oh, he died for your sins. They make it real wash, but they didn't say what he did. Like, they didn't say all of that. They didn't experience all of that. They didn't understand all of that. And so from there, that is where the distinguishing factor. And when I finally understood who he was and how he loved us, let me tell you about love, y'all. A lot of love that y'all are experiencing is not the love that God has, okay? That agape love, that unconditional love, that no matter what you do, you can rob a bank tomorrow, okay? He don't care. He love you still. Don't do it. Don't do it. Hey, don't do it. But what I'm saying is, he loves you regardless of what you do. That's a distinguishing factor. A lot of the world love is it's love for a time period, right? We see all the celebrities getting, the 1 minute they love, the next minute they cancel. Like, that is not love. That is not real love. That is not true love. True love will test the time. That's how God loves us, because he wouldn't have sent his son. So that's the distinguishing factor for me, is that I identify with what he went through, or of course I can never experience that, but I identify with that. And then understanding it was all for love of me, like me, the messed up me, the one that does this, the one that may curse and slip a word in, like here and there, like, me, that love. And so that's distinguishing for me. So a lot of times you'll hear somebody with that is faith-filled, and you're just like, what does that mean to me? Okay. I want you to test it real quick. Test it for yourself. Okay. Think of the love that you've experienced in life. And the listener, that you know who you are, the love that you experienced in life. Measure that love. Can you measure it? Was it real love? Was it true love? I started this podcast talking about a love that I love so much, so deeply, unconditionally. I did. But no, I realized it was conditional, because when things happened, I was mad. Even me. I'm calling me a spade. When things happen and I was angry and bitter, it was conditional, because then I'm like, so let's test your love. Okay. How much you love something, your kids, your family members, your pets, you know. Now think of the love that I'm talking about, where it's like, there's nothing you can do to make God stop loving you.
Mm.
That's the distinguishing factor. That is what helps me every day to love my brothers and sisters, even the hardest ones. Okay. The hardest ones, to get up every day and say, you know what? I love this person regardless of how much they may have made me mad. I love this person because that is hard. That is not easy. We are human. We're flesh. To love someone that believes things different from you, to love someone that hates you because of the color of your skin, to love someone outside of that. We are all human. We will fail, but God still loves us regardless. So that was the distinguishing factor. Absolutely operating out of a space of love, a true love, an unconditional love that cannot be bought. You ain't had to do nothing for it. That's the best part. You have to do nothing for it. You have to do nothing. A lot of times, those that are growing in their careers and successful, you got to do a lot to get that love and respect, right? Not with God. He just have you woke up this morning and you're going to try to do whatever he's called you to do. So to answer that, was a long spiel, but to answer that, that's kind of the distinguishing factor for me, is that it's the love. It's the love, and it is the understanding of what he's been through. And that's what helps me in my biblical truths to understand it, because I know it's coming from a place of love. There's never a place of, if it's coming from a place of defeat, condemnation, and that is not even the voice of God. Like, if it's coming from a place of like gossip or whatever, it's not love. All this love that y'all are seeking, I'm telling you, y'all, because I was the one too. Okay. I was the bully kid, so I wanted everybody to love me. Okay. I'm a people pleaser, recovering people pleaser. Okay. And I wanted everybody to love me. I wanted everybody to accept me because I didn't want to get bullied anymore, right? As a kid growing up. So I'm chasing love like a mad woman. Like, love me, just love me, just love me. Please love me. Don't pick on me, but love me. Just love me. And at some point, that love is going to fade out. It's not real. It's not sustainable. But yet, the love of God is what I had to experience first. I had to experience it first, which is why I always pray that over people. God, please let them experience you. Once they experience you, God, then they can understand love. And then they can believe your truths, because it all starts there, like, right? It's like a life cycle, right? And they have to experience God in their life, whatever that is. Once you experience it, then now, okay, I can believe it. Once you believe it, now you can apply it to life. And that's where the affirmations came for me. That's where the being able to be like, okay, you know what? God said this, so this is true, right? Or I believe this, so this is true. That's where it's done.
Girl. Oh my goodness. This resonates so heavily with me on a multitude of levels that if I started, we'd have a whole second podcast episode. But I think maybe it was yesterday, a couple of days ago, I was talking with some friends or people in Bible study or whatever, and we talked about how there are lies all throughout the world, and we believe them, whether they are lies within ourselves, whether they are lies that are spoken over us, whether they are lies that the media, Hollywood, society, communities put out and then tell us to believe them. There are so many lies to weed through in the world. And for me, just like you, we're both believers in Christ, risen, resurrected in the heavens with his Father, and trying to understand how people navigate the world without that understanding for their whole life. Mm-hmm. That, like, I had those seasons of, I'm reading it and I see it for other people, but I don't see it for me. Like, I believe it for you, you look like this applies to you, sister so-and-so and brother so-and-so, but me, this is not for me, you know? And that passage for those of you guys who maybe have never picked up a Bible in your life, there's the Bible's broken up into two parts. There's the Old Testament and the New Testament. And it's a book filled with books and letters. That's what the Bible is. So one of those, it's really a letter to a group of people called Romans. And this guy named Paul wrote that letter to them. And in chapter 8 of that letter, he talks about the love of God and how there's literally nothing in all of creation that can separate you from God's love, which is actually found in his son, Jesus Christ. And so in this conversation that I was having with people, I mentioned how when I got to that space of that, wait, God's love is above every other idea of love that I know, over every heartache that I've had, like it's still here, like it hasn't gone anywhere, like what? It's sustainable through my flaws and everything. I too had to get to a point where I realized if God also says that he cannot tell a lie, like the Bible actually says God is incapable of telling a lie. And then you have Satan, or who's the enemy of God. He's called the father of lies. Like he births lies for a living. Like you said, he's overtime in the lie department, right? He's the CEO of Lies LLC. Like he's literally running this business called the lies you tell.com. And like, it's just him. So here he is literally producing lies into the world. It's just his whole business model. And God he knows the concept. It's just not part of his nature to participate in it. So when I realized that, something in me, also in my late 20s, starting into my 30s, was like, okay, so then if God says this and he is incapable of telling a lie, something must be wrong with me and my thinking. So I need to figure out how to get on his page.
Yeah, that's
good. If he is telling the truth and he admits that he's telling the truth, then that's a me problem. And I need to figure out how to get on his page, even if that means uncomfortably just reminding myself that he's not lying, even if I don't feel like that's true.
That's good.
I have to marinate in his truth and somehow get to the space where I can actually receive it. Because if he's saying it, he's not singing a different song. It's the only song he sings over me. I love you. I love you. I've always loved you. I'll love you to the end of the age. I'm like, okay, well, I'm over here calling myself different names, negative self-talk, and people have their own opinions about me that contradict what you keep saying is the truth. I gotta figure this out. I have to figure this out. And I love how you said that you do talk those affirmations of yourself that you pull from his truth, right? Because you can rely on that.
Yes.
We can come up with truths that maybe sound, or at least sound true, but for us, especially the two of us, where our faith is really what grounds us, checking it with what he says and knowing that he's incapable of lying makes the affirmations so much more reliable, because it's basically just what he said, so that is, I love that. And thank you for explaining that to people who are probably also wrestling, because I don't want people, and I know you don't either in what you do in your business. We don't want people to feel like we're here to just be like, the Bible says, we're not trying to do that. But just so you can hear a story where we understand different spaces with God, without God, questioning God, figuring God out. Is this real? Is this not? And why that makes a testimony like, I literally was at my rock bottom and I had to make a decision, and seeing where God fit into that space. It's we want people to see that is a thing. There's other people who will tell their story. I know that you gave your disclaimer, they'll tell their story. God's not even a part of it. It's like I call the suicide hotline, or I checked myself into the hospital. They put me on meds, went through a program, and I'm on my feet. I'm good. We don't discount those stories either. We don't discount those. But these are our stories. And that key part of wrestling with God through that is it's foundational. It's foundational to this side of coming out of darkness into light.
Yes.
So if you could encourage people, whether they are feeling like I'm one of those love the Lord listeners, hey, and then those that are like, I don't even know if he really exists, to be honest. I'm not really down for that. But that maybe have wrestled with suicidal thoughts, or know someone that they love, or just in their vicinity. People are constantly hearing of people, whether it's at work or at school or in their community, that's struggling with suicidal ideation. What do you say to people that are, what lessons for you did you learn that you would want them to extrapolate and maybe apply for themselves?
Yes. I definitely want to talk to that person. And these are the affirmations I actually have sitting on my mirror. But I'm going to use, but I'm going to use it for you. So whoever's listening, you are beautiful, you are important, and you matter. And I want to highlight the you matter part, because I don't want to get into the biology of things, but you were put on this planet for a reason. When we understand, they talk about the biology of things, and I don't want to get that deep, but like you being here was a ratio, like a miracle in itself. It was a miracle in itself, from the egg to the sperm. I don't want to get that deep to the young people that may listen to this, but let's be real. It was a miracle. You are a miracle. There's a song I love. You're a walking, breathing, living, moving miracle. Okay. You matter. You being here matters. And why? Because you have the answer to something on this planet. What's inside of you is an answer to whatever solution, whatever problem we got. You. So when you are in your life and you feel like, to the old person, to the young person, you feel like I ain't done none of the things I'm supposed to be doing. My life is nowhere. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. You matter. Your purpose matters. You are important to this world. Don't let this world tell. And that's the thing. That's the lies. The world is going to tell you. And when I say the world, I'm not talking from a carnal point. I'm talking about society. Society will tell you that you're not this. You ain't going to never be. Why? Because that's a lie that was rooted from the pit of hell. Okay. Let me tell you something. You are supposed to be here. Why? Because you have something inside of you that is significant to the order of things in this planet. I'm going to be real honest and transparent. Okay. I love my parents. I love them, but they didn't know each other that long when I was conceived. And my mom contemplated of, aborting me. And thank God my grandmother talked her out of it. And here I am. And I know now I have purpose. I'm convinced that the enemy is trying to attack me in every way of making me lose my life from the beginning. I'm convinced he's trying to, he didn't try to take me out in a car accident. He didn't try to take me out from birth. He didn't try to take me out by myself. Like at this point, he couldn't get me with myself. So he's like, I quit. Like he can't. But the truth is, you are supposed to be here. You are supposed to be here. So in your mess of things that you have dealt with, and when I say mess, because it is ugly, it gets ugly. It gets really ugly and comfortable. So I call it mess. I do. Not to belittle anything, but just to be truthful. Let's be honest. The stuff that we were in, some of the stuff we didn't even, those cards shouldn't have been dealt to us. So I hear you. The person that I didn't even ask for this. I didn't ask for this weight. I didn't ask for none of this. This wasn't, I promise you, y'all, you are supposed to be here even in the midst of that mess, even in the midst of the ickiness and the dirtiness and all the different things that you feel. You matter. And now that you know, well, let me help you first. Believe why you mattered, okay? Believe that you matter. But then once you finally believe that you matter, now you have to figure out what do you do with this information? What do you do with understanding that, you were placed on this planet to do great things, beautiful things? I always think of like the chaos in the world, and there's always that one little piece of some type of light. That's you. You are that light. So walk in that light. Walk in who you are. Walk in all that. And then here's the thing. The truth is, I'm a firm believer that we go through those things because at some point you're going to help somebody else. I know we could be selfish and like, I don't want to go through that. Like, forget them. Like I've said it a couple times. But the truth is, if we don't go through things, then we won't be able to know how to help and help someone else. Think about yourself in your past where, you may have had a teacher or a coach or somebody that just led the way because they went through it first. They were able to give you insight. It's kind of like you had a cheat code. I know the gamers will love that. Y'all got cheat codes, right? You have a cheat code because you went through it. So now you can help somebody else, whether it's your children, whether it's somebody that you meet on the street, whether it's your classmate, whatever, whoever it is. You can be able to do because you went through what you went through. But I want you to not stop at the despair. Yes, experience that, acknowledge it, call it out. Yes, this is wrong. What was done to me was wrong. What happened to me was not right. Acknowledge it, but then know that you still have purpose, even in the midst of what you're going through, what you've been through, and the pain. And I think what hurts me most is I see so many people living beneath what God has called them to be. Living below who God wants. Let me tell you, he wants us to have an abundant life. Abundant. Okay. Yeah. Look up the word abundant. Okay. Look it up later. But abundant life. So you operating in do I want to say scarce? Scarcity? Is that the opposite of abundance? Yeah, we'll go with that. Scarce. That's not even God. That's not even his character. So if it ain't God's character, then I know whose it is, So you operating outside of who you've been called on this planet to be, you're doing a disservice to yourself because you're not operating in the full of you. I know so many people who have all these different great gifts and talents that God put inside them, and they're just operating in one space. And that's what my life's mission is with my business is like, let's get you out of that because I'm not going to take the mediocre version of you. Absolutely not, because that's not who God called you to be. I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to let you wallow in that. Trust me, I did. I operated in mediocre me for years, okay? But that's not who you are. That's not, society told you that. Society told you to take the scraps of things. That's not God. So to that person, whoever you are, you matter, you are important, and you're beautiful. You're beautiful. And remember that if you don't speak to anything, if you don't ever talk to, listen, it's not even about religion right now or anything like that. It's just knowing that to give you the steps to be able to like, okay, when you're about to, in your mind, commit something against yourself, when you are thinking about ending your life, when you're thinking about, I can't do this anymore, I want out. I need you to remember you matter. And then I need you to just one more day. Can you give me one more day? Promise me one more day. Because I promise you, the next day it gets better. And then guess what? The next day it gets better. And trust me, this the beautiful part about pain and anguish and stuff. You already been through it. So you know how to respond differently. You can respond to the pain differently. But if you just promise me one more day, just give it one more day. And then open up your heart to actually experience and feel true love. Because experiencing true love in that one more day will change things in an instant. And you welcome which true love you want to welcome. I'm not advising I'm not going to say what you need to, but it just welcome understanding of I am loved. I am loved I am safe. I am protected. Sometimes we got to walk ourselves out of this stuff. Sometimes. Only reason I had to have something to ground me, but sometimes I walked myself out of stuff too before I knew Jesus. I walked myself out of a lot of things, but I realized the difference between the two. I needed something else to believe in. I needed a hope. Me hoping in myself at some point, I got tired. Okay, that's a weight that you adding on yourself. I got a hope in myself and my abilities. I'm a self-motivated person by nature, but at some point I needed help. I needed something to believe in. And that's where my belief system comes in. But for you, just you matter. Take it one more day and open up your heart to experience true love, real love, not the love that the world gives you, not the love that you see here and there, but actually love. And then I know it's a cliche word, but I got to say it, phrase, love yourself. And I mean, love the heck out of yourself. I mean, from the part of like, you wake up every morning, you see yourself in that mirror, look in the mirror, say, I love myself. I love you. Speak to yourself the way that you want people to speak to you. I love myself. Yeah, I've been working out. I've been looking in the mirror. I said, oh, girl, you're looking good. Like, talk to yourself. Love on yourself. I know it's a cliche word, phrase, but it's true. That's where this is coming from. This is coming from a true belief of loving yourself. Because once you love yourself, I forgot who said it, but when you love yourself, or the lack of love for yourself is depicted in the relationships that you have around you. So a lot of the relationships I lost, I realized because there was a lack of love in myself. And at first I was sad about it, but I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That means I didn't love me enough because they wouldn't have treated me that way. Oh, come on. That's a word.
Mm-hmm.
That's a word. Like, you have to love yourself, because then you'll acknowledge yourself, you'll see who you are, and you'll know who's supposed to be in your circle and not, based upon the love that you have for yourself. So I know that's a whole lot to say, but I want to say to the person who you know who you are, you matter. Take it one more day and open yourself up to real, true love, and love yourself.
Woo, let the church say amen, amen, praise, hallelujah, glory be. Yes, yes. I approve of this message. This is beautiful. That was amazing. Thank you so much for just unpacking that and really being very encouraging, motivating, just being you, taking it a day at a time. I love that. How can people find you and reach out to you if they wanted to?
Yes. Thank you. First and foremost, let me edify you. Thank you so much. This has been healing, y'all. Like, I've never shared my story in this magnitude. So thank you so much for creating this safe place. Okay. Like, I feel so like a weight's been lifted off me because I've just been holding that in for so many years. So thank you so much for what you're doing with First Paso, and just being able to just speak life to so many people's situations, and just doing it with a humble and honest way that you do it. And you just have a natural, peaceful spirit about you. I just love that about you. So just thank you first and foremost. Okay, so to find me, I am on social media as Deshira Milan. That is my personal / professional page, I guess you could say. So you can find me on TikTok. I'm on TikTok now. You can find me on Instagram as Deshira Milan, and then on Facebook as Deshira Milan. And then as far as if you wanted to like connect with me, if you want just, ways that we can communicate or just want to work with me, you can find me at dmilanhospitality.com, and it'll have all my information on there. We're definitely moving in the right direction. I'm realizing that my testimony has been very helpful for people. And so that's where my business is growing, in that capacity of being able to just be of service to help people become the best versions of themselves and being able to live the life that they dreamed of, with all parts to it. So personal, professional, and dream development, just business development, all those different things. So dmilanhospitality.com for anything with that, as well as if you want to learn more about Wild God and what we're doing. It's really just a ministry. We just want to talk about the miracles and wonders of God in our life. And you can go to wildgodapparel.com. We have some cute apparel on there, but we try to do Wild God Wednesday, where we talk about the miracles and wonders, and it's on Instagram Live, but just more so just a message to get out there about who God is in our lives and how he's honestly just came and wowed us. That's really what the truth is. So that's where you can find me. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. I'm just being a vessel that God uses to do what he does best. And, if I had to go through the trenches first, to help you, I'm happy to be the one that did it. Okay. Because I want you to be free and break free from the chains of all the things that have been holding you bound for so long. It's time to break free and be who you've been called to be. So thank you so much for today. And just, oh God, I feel I just know God is going to do what he does best. So thank you so much for having me. And I love being here. So thank you.
Girl, thank you. Guys, hit her up, please. What she's doing is really beautiful and her ministry is pretty awesome. And obviously you can see she's an amazing character. So talking with her in general is just fun. So please connect with her, follow her on all her socials, follow her on the TikTok too, because she's on the TikTok now. Okay. Welcome to the TikTok fam, girl. Yeah. So yeah, follow her. And thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. If you guys have any questions, any stories, if you have a story that you want to share and unpack for us to learn what you've extrapolated from your first Paso experience, please hit me up on socials or go to my website, www.firstpaso.com. And we would love to hear from you and connect with you. Otherwise, take care, stay safe. God bless, guys. And we'll talk soon. Deshira, we'll talk soon too, girl.
Yay. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.